Black women, let me relieve you of some stress. Stop caring about what happens to black men. Now, I know you don't like that because you just think that everything that happens to them is somehow a reflection of you. It's your burden, it's your thing to sleep over and to fight over. But y'all gonna really have to let black men and their mess ups be theirs. It's almost like black men are self-destructing. They have the worst stats of any group, pretty much. They are always in the news for being murdered, something happening to them in the streets. That's essentially their whole history of not being able to defend themselves, always losing to other men, always being a victim. And that path of victimhood and lack of resources, lack of ability to have any kind of strength as a man, any kind of power to compete with other men, is really a sign that they're not the fittest on this planet. And that may sound very cruel, but facts are facts and evidence is evidence. And you are stressing yourselves out, trying to keep them alive, trying to protect them, trying to make up for what they don't have. And in you doing that, you are highly sabotaging yourself. You are putting yourself at high risk. And you're essentially stunting your own life and your own well-being. And I've said many times that black women tying themselves to black men or refusing to cut their ties with black men is the main reason why black women haven't been able to progress further in society. Because if you attach yourself to the weakest men on earth, who are always in some position where they're being absolutely defeated, annihilated, they're getting their butts kicked. They've gotten their butts kicked for centuries. And you're attaching yourself to that. And you as a woman attached to a man like that, you become even less than him. So, the answer is very obvious, but it's the answer that it's a solution that black women don't want to take. But we're going to have to cut ties with them. And in cutting those ties, you are going to have to stop caring about what other people do to them. And so in this video, I just want to talk very briefly about black women being, I don't know if rage baited is the right word, but being emotionally yanked into these conversations and these situations surrounding the tragedies that happen to black men. So first of all, I have the endless stories of the black male victim. He is walking somewhere. He is with a group of people who are not black. He is somewhere he's not supposed to be. And he turns up dead. And your first instinct as a black woman who does not understand that you have to stop trying to protect men who literally are not fit to survive, your first instinct is to run and get upset and start protesting. The list of names is endless. And now we have the most recent situation with this Nolan Wells person who was not even black. His mother is Asian, or at the very most, she might be half Asian. His father is a black man. What does that have to do with us? And none of the women in his community of Asian women or white women, because he took a white girl to prom and I think his girlfriend was white, they're not speaking up. So why are black women speaking up? Why are black women the only ones making this their problem? Leave that to him. Leave that to his father and his Asian mother, and let the Asians and white people figure it out. And I heard somebody say that his father in the interview wasn't even angry enough. But that's how the typical self-hating, racist black men are. They always want to talk about forgiveness, and they always want to go light on people who do something to harm them or their family, because that's just how weak they are. And it just goes back to my point in the end that these men don't want to defend themselves. They don't want to defend things that are associated with them. Can you imagine if a white boy went missing and he was with all black boys? Or in this case, since Nolan is biracial, can you imagine if a biracial son of a white man or any other man went missing? They'd care about their child. They wouldn't be trying to say, oh, go light, go easy, I forgive, or, we didn't teach him to hate. They would be like, we need to find these people and bring them to justice. It's almost like black men don't have an internal mechanism that allows them to defend themselves or what is in proximity to them properly. And so you sure as heck shouldn't be doing it. And again, it's none of your business, because he is not the child of a black woman. He is not a fully black person, a black woman or girl. So stay out of it. And somebody else asked, has his girlfriend even said anything about him? I'm not even going to go through all of the names, because that's how little I care about these men who have been taken out in these suspicious circumstances. I just don't care. I care so little that I don't even dig into these stories most of the time. Usually, what I know about these stories, I hear because I just happen to be scrolling social media and couldn't quite avoid it. I saw a tweet that laid it all out. But, I'll skim it. But I have zero emotional attachment. I feel nothing when I see these things. And that's the place that you need to get to. Because I still see so many black women who, these are black women who said that they were going to rest. These are black women who said that they had taken off their capes, as the popular phrase goes. These are black women who said that they were no longer going to be advocating for anybody but other black women. But these same black women, when these stories come out, and there's been multiple over the past year and a half, 2 years, when these stories come out, these women get triggered and they jump into mammy mode, and they start saying, decrying this stuff and saying that they need to go investigate and, talk to your children and blah, 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 this and that. Like, yeah, you're emotionally pulled in before you know it. You cannot do that. And if you could just get it into your head, if you could just get it into your head that these are men who made their choices. These are men who did not even like black women. These are men who would not have advocated for you. These are men who probably, if they were alive, would still tell you that they think more of their own killers than they do you. So, your advocacy is really redundant. It's not even, it's embarrassing. And it's unnecessary. Let the law take its course. Let what happens happen. You're stressing yourself out. You're losing sleep. You're getting your heartbeat. You're getting your heart rate all up. Stress, cortisol levels, going up. But you can just see these things and you can just keep on scrolling like I do. Y'all take everything that happens to black men so personally because you still see yourselves in them. And if you could recognize that they're not you and you're not them, and that the only person that you need to care about is yourself first, and other black women who are open to caring about you and you are open to caring about them. You don't need to think that whatever he goes through is your responsibility to speak on or to try to fix. Y'all shouldn't even be speaking on these things. Like, I think it's embarrassing just to see a black woman making a video about this. Have you seen any of the other women make videos for these black men who get murdered? And keep in mind now, most of the time, these men are dating, they're married to non-black women. They've talked down on black women. They've had no association with us. But all of a sudden, when they're dead, black women are supposed to go and reclaim the mangled bodies of these men to defend. It's ridiculous. And you know what else on top of that? Not only would these men spit on you if they were alive, if you were in their situation where you were the one who got murdered, they wouldn't take up for you. Y'all remember that influencer earlier this year who went missing in Tanzania? And all the black men were saying such horrible, vicious things about her because her fiance was white. None of these black men were like, oh my goodness, we feel so sorry for Ashley Janae. We really want justice for her. let's make sure that her case is properly investigated. Let's reach out to the family. Let's order a protest. Let's march for her. No. They blamed her for being found dead. They said that, well, you saw the things they said about her. It was all negative. Even the government, led by black African men, didn't really do much, as far as I heard, with regards to her death. They don't care about you. They don't care about you whether they're living, and if they could come back from the dead, they would let you know that too. So why do you care so much about them? What are you even gaining out of this? Do black women, do y'all just like to be upset online? Is that just a hobby, a pastime for y'all? You know, my son, my brother. Because, you know, like, you're not getting anything out of it. You're just screaming at something, ranting, raving. For what? All of this discourse and all of this uproar and all of this pushback every time something happens to a black man. But yet I never see this kind of sorrow and empathy when something happens to a black woman. You all don't even talk about the black women who are victimized by mainly the men of their own race, black men. And when something happens to a black woman and the abuser is a man of another race, you rejoice and you celebrate. And you are smug and you say, that's what she gets for messing with that blank blank. Y'all treat black men like they are the most precious, vulnerable porcelain dolls to ever walk this earth. And you know, one of the main reasons why they can't act like men is because y'all hold them and coddle them so tight and so close that they grow up thinking that they are princesses. When a black man looks into a mirror, he sees a little girl in a purple dress instead of the grown, broad back, solid man that he is supposed to be. Y'all have literally given them some kind of confusion about their own identity because you protect them so hard. They think that black men grow up thinking that the whole world is supposed to pamper them, indulge them, treat them right, protect them, and that they treat black women as a collective like their mothers, like they're very annoying, irritating, unsexy mothers. One of the reasons why they don't feel any attraction to you beyond just using you real quick and moving on is because the same way you look at them and you see, oh my gosh, that poor pitiful black man just needs a hug and somebody to advocate for him, and is he alright? Yeah, the same way you feel that way about him, he looks at you like, oh my gosh, there's my oversized, overbearing, bad built, bad dressed mother. He tolerates you and you're crazy out of your mind about, oh, is he okay? Is his well-being okay? You know, black men see all of the things that you do for them, and they know the lengths you go to protect them and defend them, and that doesn't make them feel very much like men. And even though they're not going to try to stand up and be the men that they should be, because they love your labor and they love being lazy on you, but they still don't like the way you make them feel, because you make them feel like they're little and stupid and weak, which, you know. Anyways, stop taking everything that happens to them personally, and, you know, to bring it on down to a lower stakes level. You know, even when they're not being murdered or going missing or having some tragedy otherwise happen to them, stop feeling like a black man's experience in the world is your experience too. when you do that to yourself, you're essentially denying your own womanhood. Because there's just no way that men and women are looked at the same. And I don't care how important you think race is, which obviously, of course, everybody walks around with their race visible. But being male and being female will never be seen as the same thing. Nobody's even going to confuse a woman for a man. That's how much our brains have developed to know the difference between male and female. So it's not even a conscious choice necessarily that people can make. It's almost subconscious in the way that you just look at something and your eyes just register it. And obviously, if you have certain ideas about a certain group of people, and you look at a woman from that group and you look at a man from that group, and in that rapid moment that your brain sees man or it sees woman, and then your brain loads with the things that come with whatever you associate with the women, or your brain loads with the things that you associate with the men of that group. But I promise you are not seen as the same thing. You need to just untie your identity from black men's, because it just doesn't work the same way. So you're in social settings, the things that he's afraid of experiencing, the things that he talks about, the things that frustrate him, the way he interacts with men of other races. This one's very important, very, very important. You're not having that same interaction as a woman. You don't need to internalize that. You don't need to brace for that. You don't need to walk around speaking from that point of view. Sometimes just slow down and think about what you really, really actually have experienced as a black woman. And think about the actual differences that you have noticed. Sometimes black women love to complain so much that they sometimes complain about things that they haven't even experienced. That's just how miserable some of y'all are. If y'all would just stop trying to speak for black men, if you would stop seeing yourselves as one unit, if you would stop thinking that what happens to them is your burden, you could take the good qualities that you have as black women and you could run with them, you could grow with them, you could build with them, you could be with them, you could be a whole new person with those good qualities that you have. You could be a whole new image. You are not stuck with black men and their plight. You are not stuck with black men and their failures. You are not stuck with black men and their weaknesses. Move on. No matter how much you as a black woman want it to be true that you can be a unit with somebody else, the truth is that everybody sees every group of people as being in their own category, whether you are a white man, a white woman, a black man, a black woman, Hispanic man, Hispanic woman, Asian man, Asian woman, whatever you are, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be the exact thing as something else because you're not that thing. Like, it's very simple. So you can take that and you can go as far with that as you want to. If you want more videos like this, please like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for listening. May the truth set you free.